July 18th, 390 BC. On the banks of the Tiber River, just north of Rome, history is about to take a dark turn. A Roman army of 24,000 men stands ready for battle, confident in their superiority. But across the field, an invading force of Gallic warriors, taller, fiercer, and more battle-hardened than any enemy Rome has ever faced, prepares to strike. By nightfall, this confrontation will leave Rome defenseless, its streets burning, and its very survival in question. This is the complete story of the Battle of the Allia, the catastrophe that nearly erased Rome from history before its empire even began. The year is 391 BC. The Senones, a Celtic tribe from Gaul, have migrated into northern Italy, under their warlord, Brennus. According to Roman historian Livy, the conflict began when Roman ambassadors violated sacred diplomatic customs by taking up arms during negotiations at Clusium. This insult gave Brennus the justification he needed to march south. Rome at this time was still a regional power, fresh from its victory over the Etruscan city of Veii in 396 BC. The Roman military system was outdated, a citizen militia organized in the old Greek phalanx style, with wealthy landowners forming the heavy infantry. There was no standing army, no professional soldiers, and most importantly, no unified command structure. As Brennus's forces moved south, panic spread through Rome. The Senate appointed 6 military tribunes with consular powers to lead the defense, a fatal decision that would lead to divided leadership at the most crucial moment. The Roman force that marched out to meet the Gauls was large, but inexperienced, consisting primarily of citizen soldiers with limited combat experience against unconventional foes. The two forces met near the confluence of the Tiber and Allia rivers, about 11 miles north of Rome. The Romans deployed in their traditional tripartite formation, the strongest troops in the center with weaker allied forces on the flanks. Their heavy bronze armor and large oval shields were designed for frontal assaults in tight formation. The Gauls presented a terrifying contrast. Most stood over 6 feet tall, towering over the average Roman. They were little armor, preferring mobility, and were armed with long iron swords perfect for slashing attacks. Their battle tactics relied on psychological terror. Warriors would charge screaming, blow war horns, and even hurl insults in broken Latin. Brennus immediately recognized the weaknesses in the Roman deployment. The Roman right flank, composed of allied troops, was clearly the vulnerable point. He organized his forces into 3 waves. First, a feint against the center, then the main assault on the right flank, followed by cavalry to exploit any breakthrough. As the battle commenced, the Romans made 3 critical mistakes. They failed to anchor their flanks against natural obstacles. They kept no reserves in position, and, most disastrously, the 6 tribunes couldn't agree on a unified strategy. When the Gallic assault hit the Roman right flank, the Allied troops broke almost immediately. The panic spread like wildfire through the Roman lines. Within minutes, what began as an orderly retreat became a full rout, as soldiers discarded their heavy armor to flee faster. The collapse was total and devastating. Roman soldiers fled in 3 directions: west towards Veii, their former enemy, south towards Rome itself, and into the Tiber River, where hundreds drowned. Brennus, astonished by the completeness of his victory, initially suspected a trap. He held his forces back for a full day before cautiously advancing on Rome. When scouts reported the city gates stood open and undefended, the Gauls moved in. Most Romans had fled, except for a small garrison holding the Capitoline Hill. According to legend, when the Gauls attempted a night assault, sacred geese in Juno's temple raised the alarm, allowing the defenders to repel the attack. This story, likely embellished, became central to Roman lore. The siege lasted 7 months. Finally, the starving defenders negotiated a ransom of 1,000 pounds of gold. It was during this exchange that Brennus allegedly threw his sword on the scales with the famous words, Vae Victis, woe to the vanquished. The humiliation at Allia forced Rome to completely reinvent its military. 1. The Servian walls. Massive new fortifications encircling Rome. 2. Army reorganization. Transition from phalanx to manipular legions. 3. Professionalization. Stricter discipline and year-round training. These reforms created the military machine that would eventually conquer the Mediterranean. The psychological impact was equally profound. Romans developed both a deep fear of northern barbarians and an unshakable determination to never suffer such defeat again.